It's really important that you do screw up. It's really important that you do mess up and that you do make mistakes. As we're conditioned, as we grow up, as we go through school, we're taught by our parents, by our friends, that it's not okay to make mistakes, and it's wrong for us to do that. If you think about when you were at school, when you were doing tests, when you were doing exams, you were always marked based on what you had got wrong. So you'd be marked down, you'd get a lower grade the more items that you had got wrong in your test or in your exam. So this conditions us to think that making mistakes is wrong and that we shouldn't be making mistakes. Look, I'm here to tell you that it's so important to screw up, to fail, to make errors, to create success for yourself, to go further in your life. And what's inspired me to tell you about this? What's inspired me to jump on this video? Well, I've been reading an article by a guy called Dr. Buckminster Fuller. Now, Buckminster Fuller, he was a very famous philosopher, engineer, scientist as well. He created the geodesic dome, and he's put together some incredible literature. And I was reading an article which was extracted from a book called Intuition, and he talks about, where humans are today, where we've got to, this position in 2020, this exact moment in time, we've got to this point over all those years that we've been around through making countless mistakes, in fact quadrillion of mistakes. And from that we constantly learn. We learn more about our environment, we learn more about who we are, and we learn more about what we're capable of doing. In fact, the only reason that we learn anything is from making a mistake. It's from testing things. It's from trial and error. All these famous scientists, inventors, engineers, it was countless testing over and over again, making mistakes, finding new ways to make things work. So it's really important for us to condition ourselves, recondition ourselves, that making mistakes is okay, making mistakes is important. In life, you're going to make mistakes, it's going to happen. So it puts so many people off. They don't want to start a business. They don't want to be successful. They don't want to go out there and take action because they're worried about messing up. They're worried about screwing up, making a fool of themselves, humiliating themselves, getting criticized for making that mistake, whatever it might be. But let me tell you this, when you make that mistake, when you make that error, what happens is you get closer to the truth. Closer to the truth of what you're doing than before ever before you get closer to that truth. So what do I mean by that? Well, look, when you mess up, when you fail at something, you get an opportunity to learn. You get an opportunity to understand what happened, what went wrong, and what did you learn from the situation. In that moment, from learning and taking something from that situation, you're able to grow into a bigger and better person. That's where development through mistakes, development through failures comes from, and that's why it's so important. We as humans, we're supposed to make mistakes. We've been given the mental capacity to deal with making mistakes. If you think about it, Bucky Fuller makes this really good point. If you think about it, if thousands of years ago, humans would have died out, they would have killed themselves if they weren't supposed to make mistakes. Why? Because they would have been so disheartened, so discouraged, and they would have created this inferiority complex for themselves that they wouldn't have been able to continue with life, because they just would keep making mistakes and it would become too much for them. So they would end their life. They couldn't live it. They'd be so disheartened, they'd be so sullen and down about it. So this is what has got us to where we are today. Because we have that ability to make mistakes, because we have the ability to learn from it, we've got here to where we are in 2020 with all this technology around us, the society we have, the advances, everything that is around us is because mistakes were made before. The way that we communicate, this isn't everything, because of where we've come from, the mistakes we've made, the journey that we've been on, the lessons that we've learned from that. Now, if you think about it, think about a plane. When a plane takes off from a runway and it's heading towards its destination, it is never on course. It is always making mistakes and course correcting. It makes a mistake, so it comes out of alignment to where it needs to go, and the autopilot kicks in and it brings it back, and then it overcompensates, and then it has to correct for that mistake, and it brings it back on track. And the plane is doing this the whole way to the destination, always correcting itself through the whole journey, towards finally at the end, when it's getting closer to that runway, that's when the mistakes and the overcorrection, the overcompensation isn't needed so much anymore, and the degree of separation, the degree of overcompensation becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and the plane refines in, it hones in on its target of landing on the runway. So it's the same for a boat as well. If you think about one of those massive cargo tankers with all the containers on them, it takes them so much movement. They have to turn over such a large distance. But what happens is the captain will steer it, so he'll turn it one way, and it will compensate, and then he'll have to start turning it the other way to keep it on that straight path as close as he can. So this is the lesson for you guys in life. Whatever goal you want to reach, whatever stage you want to get to in your life, you are going to be constantly course correcting. You are never going to be on the straight line. Life is never a smooth straight line. You will constantly be correcting yourself from overcompensation. And you do that by making mistakes. You make a mistake, you learn from it, you course correct. You make another mistake, you learn from it, you course correct. This is why it is so important that you go out there and you be willing to make some mistakes, because this is going to get you closer to the truth. This is going to get you closer to the truth of what you need to be doing. The closer you are to the truth, the more accurate the feedback you are going to get. That means by making more mistakes, the more regularly you make them, you're going to get an accurate message back of what you need to be doing, and that is going to speed up your process towards success. Whether you want to grow your business, whether you want to become a millionaire, whether you want to have a successful, happy marriage, whatever it looks like, whatever your goal is, you have to do it through making mistakes. So go out there, don't be afraid to make them, learn from them. That's where your growth is going to come from. That is where you're going to get the biggest learning experience. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, click the subscribe button, click subscribe, click the notification button as well, so you can get more of these videos, and you can keep learning, and I can keep supporting you towards your journey on success. All the best, guys. Have a great day.